Okay, this really should be separated into two different subjects, but I want to try to show you, please, a major part of genius is pattern recognition. And I I know what brought us together, and I'm getting a lot of subscriptions. What brought us together is that I frequently watch videos about homeless people because I actually do have compassion for homeless people. I'm conservative, but there were a lot of homeless people, good people during the Depression, just like right now. It's there. Many of them are. A lot of people feel, and I do too, that they're unworthy. But I also understand there's psychological reasons behind that, and so on. And I'm here to present for the millionth time in social media the only real possible answer to the homelessness situation. And it's not original to me. It was really the product of the genius H.G. Wells. So please listen for a little while. I'm going to jump back and forth. I'm going to ramble a little bit. But please listen and try to encourage this to happen. It's the only real solution, because you judge a society by how they treat its weakest members. The 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 young and frail, the old and elderly, the unemployed. If this were England, I would have been housed immediately because I'm a medically vulnerable. Doesn't matter about age, and I'm medically vulnerable. I've got a broken arm and a ripped out rotator cuff, and I've just recovered from a couple other injuries. So my point is that I've literally, in the last, since Hobo led the attack, and he started the attack really by sharing my videos on Facebook. You're not going to get my Facebook page. I tell the truth. I educate. I will not have scientific information, legitimate scientific information, squelched by uneducated idiots. As a matter of fact, Facebook used to recruit the high school juniors at my high school, Carlmont, the fictional basis for the movie Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer. The people who used to decide what the community standards were a bunch of freaky, tattooed up, crack smoking, rich kids who all drive Porsches and Mercedes and stuff like that at Carlmont High School. You got 17-year-old kids who are trying to be hipsters and all inclusive of everything, and offended by anybody that's over, they consider like 30 to be ancient, and you've got to go. So that's who you were judged before Facebook pretty much went automated, eliminated their regional judges. But I've just recently had another wave of subscriptions. One of them is a comedian who has subscribed to me publicly. I think I was right there on the same with Matthew McConaughey, a local who even liberals make fun of Matthew because, he's kind of the go-to guy at the Austin American. He always got a comment for. He tried to run for governor. It was hilarious. I saw Matthew McConaughey's first two YouTube videos. Seriously, they were hilarious. I'm directing those comments towards you. I got two Smiths one of them is a Deanne Smith, the comedian. I find you funny. I don't discriminate in my comedy. Comedy has to be vulgar. It has to touch on all kind of sensitive subjects. If you're offended, when you go to a comedy show and you get offended, you're in the wrong place, buddy. Lack of sense of humor is the first sign of mental illness. There's some people who go over the top. What was that Richards guy? He went over the top. But I want to present within this, it may go 25 minutes. Especially if the wind keeps fucking with me. I ain't carrying no meth torch. I've had so many people I've lost count. Last time I checked my analytics, it was around actually about 240 people that subscribed and then unsubscribed, or were blocked by me and then unsubscribed. And because they were coming at me only, subscribing only to harass me. This is not the place for you to harass me. Trust me, I have to, especially since the fallout, the hobo and his Jerry Springer style started this shit. I traced it back. He first shared my videos on his Facebook page, Mark Nicholson. And then he had posted to his community, the hobo community, the order to sick him, go get him. He's a bad guy. He thinks he knows it all. Well, I know a whole lot more than you. So, all after I really was planning on being asleep within about an hour. Oh gosh, I'm gonna just start with a fresh one. But, I'm gonna make some apologies now, because sometimes I see something I don't like. Like if you're a completely blank channel. I just had one, a certain JJ. I've had this M that's also an MW. Some of y'all people have a lot of front channels that have no subscribers, no videos, no content. And really all you do is go around shit talking people because you're mentally ill. Please bear in mind, let me remind you, this is my real name. You have it. I've given you my real name. This is my real face. This is my real situation at this moment. I'm in front of a clinic and they actually let me sleep here and stuff. I'm a member of this health company. My doctors are in it, and I'm just it's really a bitch only having one functioning arm. Trying to do a cleanup on aisle 2. That's for you, Deanne. I'm trying to feed you some material. I'm a comedian. I was voted favorite senior at Carlmont in large part because of my comedic persona. I'm a funny guy. I probably gotten more laughs than you have, Deanne Smith, and I'm older for one thing. I've had the time, and I'm funny as shit, and you might want to even step up your vulgarity. The hard K sound, as we Jews teach comedy, the hard K sound and vulgarity are talking about adult subjects is, at least you're doing adult subjects. But it's been just the last few hours. The funny thing is that my subscriber count goes up and down and up and down. They come, they go, and but I delete some of the last 5 or 10 subscribers because I may not, if I smell something wrong. See, I'm not here to be your hero I'm here to express myself, record my thoughts. This is my log. I have 2 other channels. I'm going to say this slowly. The reason I created this new channel is because I got out of the war zone of Austin and into Pflugerville, Texas, which is an entirely different place. I have genuinely forgiven my evil siblings and other evil people, not because they deserve to be forgiven, but because I deserve some peace before I die, and I need to have a few yucks. I mostly need people to do comedy. But I do enjoy teaching what I have learned and discovered. I have discovered many things. Some of y'all are just barely seeing the tip of the iceberg. And one of the things I located, I didn't discover it, I'm not the original creator of it, was HG, that's going to be the title of this, is H.G. Wells, the Labor Company, spelt in the English way with the U in it. I've argued this so many times and everybody blows it off because it takes, the politicians use homelessness as just pawns on their political chessboard. They don't give a, oh, I feel so much, thoughts and prayers to the homeless. Bullshit. The homeless are just political pawns for them to milk the taxpayers and never come up with a real final solution. I'm not talking Hitler here. I'm going to describe for you and highly suggest that you read, I'm going to repeat it over and over again, H.G. Wells' short story, because even The Time Machine was not a novel. That was one of the things I found, and somebody tried to play Trivial Pursuit with me one day, and I corrected them. The Time Machine was not a novel. It was a short story. So, if you suddenly find yourself blocked from my channel, it's because there's already one channel I've looked at and it's not smelling right. There's another one that ain't smelling right. Deanne Smith, actually, I've got no objection as long, if you're using me to garner or get some material for your comedy act, I really don't give a shit. As long as you don't talk shit to me. I don't like gay people in general. Almost all of the gay people almost all the people who actually tried to kill me, especially recently, have been homosexual. And the ones that have really, I've been framed 4 times by lesbians. Okay? I'm making my point. You'll find no convictions on any of those charges. 2 charges of retaliation, arson, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Arson when there's actually no evidence of arson. State fire marshal was laughed at. I'm like, looks like somebody just threw out a cigarette from the roadway, oh God. She was a hot looking little lesbian though. Andrea Gidry. I wonder where she's at now. You don't make detective at age 25, 26, unless you have done a lot of oral on somebody. And actually that sheriff was tossed out for trading oral for promotions. Thomas Norsworthy, good Republican. Every Republican that's gotten into office in my county, which is pretty conservative, we're pretty evenly mixed. Every one of them's fucked up and been forced out of office for illegal activities. So this won't let you know. You can subscribe away, but sometimes I'm going to take one look at your channel and I'll get this vibration and you're going to be hide user from my channel and all comments. You're not going to get to comment. You're not going to get easy access. You're going to have to create another channel or find some other way to get to me. Now, as I creep up on 15 minutes, I want to encourage you once again to read H.G. Wells' The Labor Company. First, let me advise you to ignore, he's a writer. He's got to sell it. And there's a romantic aspect, man and a woman, and there's this kind of a theme of them escaping the labor company they see it as a bad thing. But when you really examine how, and what really kills me is that a friend of mine, a black friend of mine, I am not prejudiced. Like I said before, I'll give gay people, I just gave a guy a chance he was involved in, anyway, and they're probably going to watch this video. Better not say anything. His father was like the first one here to try to really convert me and give me a hard time. We all know how that turned out. But H.G. Wells presented what is really the most rational and most efficient way to reduce the size of government drastically. And, oh yeah, we know it's a corporation. Oh, you can't trust big corporations. I'd say some you can, but it can be specified, because we really at a point where we need it, like a constitutional revision and an amendment to our wonderfully constructed. Actually, I would keep the original Constitution. The Constitution was left open-ended by our geniuses who founded this country. England doesn't even have a constitution. That's why they have a lot of legal problems. And please bear in mind, I watch my analytics. I know I have a lot of friends, a lot of admirers or viewers in the UK. There was one popping up from Australia now and then, but please, I do stay on top of my analytics because it helps me in deciding whether or not to block subscribers. Because I'm not here to win a popularity contest. If you like me, that's great. If you don't, tough fucking shit. Like I said, no skin off my nose, water off a duck's ass. But let me get into it. You really need to read it and see it. This would be a perfect way to eliminate, the only way that, this would be, Ike Eisenhower, when I was a kid, warned us about the emerging Libertarian Party, the lunatic fringe of the Republican Party, who really don't, actually, that's what he said, is this lunatic fringe that think that you can do away without social assistance, Social Security, farm aid, other things like that, basic necessities for economic and human survival, him being a religious man, it's following. He warned us about them and the military-industrial complex that actually runs this world. If you're a Democrat or a Libertarian or a Republican, if you follow, you don't really understand how, if you just continue repeating the party lines, please remind, I have to make this longer than I want to because I have to keep repeating shit from other videos so you don't have to go searching for it, okay? The military-industrial complex, which really kind of sprung up, we Jews catch a lot of heat for it. Mayer Amschel Rothschild created the war bond, adding to his honest wealth. But it also allowed the average investor to become part of the military-industrial complex. There are people out there that are, in Ohio making munitions and stuff like that but they vote Democrat. It doesn't really matter because you're still voting for the people who really run everything. And the bigger money you got, the bigger you are. The military-industrial complex is an international conglomerate of people who are only interested in one thing, which is continuing that schism between left and right and funding both sides, because their profit lies in that dichotomy. You understand me? They make their money off of dividing people and getting them to blow each other up, because it consumes a lot of shit and creates demand. And the smart ones know that World War I and World War II actually did not diminish the human population for more than a few years. It actually doubled it each time. Global warfare is not really a threat to the number of humans on this planet. I don't think even a full nuclear exchange is really going to, after a full nuclear exchange, it probably wouldn't take, 2 or 3 generation right now is 17 years. In Palestine, the average, the median age is 18. High reproductive rates. I've said this before. I may go 30 minutes into, because I really want to try to turn your brain on and seeing that there's an alternative to help, people who we are commanded by God to care for the weak and the frail. You were once young and weak and frail, and as you get injured or as we get older, as a matter of fact, in discussing with Kyle this evening, I told him about the 1990 case about the German judge who, in a weird case involving hashish, a woman smuggled in some hashish and was looking at a hefty prison time. And he ruled that it was a basic human right to have a roof over your head, to have clothing, to have food, to have the best medical care that a society can afford. And he also said that human beings have a right to get high, to achieve an altered state, which has been central to many of my discussions on humanity, is that the one string that ties all of us together is the use of substances or of behaviors. Religion is even a behavior to create an altered state of mind. All human beings and even animals like to get drunk. They eat fermented berries, and fermented whatever. It's, of course, I have strong objections against a couple of drugs because they cost society too much. That's meth, cocaine is the primary, but also paraquat, which is still on the market, should not be used. We need to give a lot of power to honest chemists like me. So, in the society of the future that H.G. Wells envisioned, if you became unemployed and lost your housing, you simply went to the to the labor company and you were giving housing and shelter. And actually, I agree with that because it's in the Torah about, I think they wore coveralls or something, because you're going to go to work at any time if you're able-bodied. And may make an entire the next video about the biggest problem in humanity is the search for unique identity, which the Torah addressed this 3,000 years ago. Humans are driven by this need for a tribal identity and then a unique identity within that tribe. And it strictly prohibits like shaving the head, fucking with the hair, tattooings, piercings, all that stuff. It was addressed over 3,000 years ago because it's an avenue that's endless. It's messing with the body to create your own unique little personality, instead of developing your unique identity as like the best shoester in the village, the best shoemaker, shoe fixer. We Jews have done our best to limit people who have this void in their soul. They want to be famous and they want to stand out and they want to be super unique. I was unique just by my genetics and my birth and my skills. I like dressing in uniform. I could wear the same blue Oxford and, khakis every day and good, mock toes or slip-ons, or I don't really. So I've got about 5 minutes to finish. So when you become unemployed or you have some financial disaster or something like that, you go into the labor company, which you'll see there are handicapped people and there's full medical staff and hospital facilities and all this stuff. And by law, for whatever little remaining government there is, any kind of government contract has to be let unto the labor company, much like they did the Texas prison system in the past. All soaps, all furniture, all that bus repair, everything had to be done by convicts. I hope I've gotten your mind thinking by now. There is a solution to homelessness, and it's privatization. But there also needs to be a watchdog organization, and they need to be strictly limited on their profit margin by law, closely monitored, with regular agents going in and making sure, pretending to be unemployed while actually working for the intelligence division. It's kind of, let's say the Secret Service would be an equivalent. Going in and making sure that people are not being abused and stuff. And as you work for the labor company, you're supporting the disabled who can't work. Brilliant idea. And you're still getting paid, just like convicts in the Texas prison system will get paid for the labor that they were able to sell, do on their, like leather work and stuff like that. They could leave prison with, if they wanted to work. In the labor company, you really didn't have much of a choice. I don't know what kind of alternative. I do want to give a shout out to Minister. He was actually, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. I love him. Right here in Austin, Texas, we had a black dude, one of the coolest fuckers I ever met in my life. He owned the workers' co-op. Sounds kind of socialistic, but he was actually, I asked him, are you deliberately copying H.G. Wells' labor company? And he goes, no, I just, you come in, you're disabled, you get to stay for free. If you come in able-bodied, this was his rules. I'm suggesting them as a possible way of doing it. You come in, he'll make sure there's some food there for you. It's Fishes and Loaves will come by and give you food and stuff like that. Ernest. Love you, Ernest. I really do. I love your black ass. You were doing so much good. And then the city built that stupid Austin Austin Resource Center for the homeless next door, and just destroyed your business, because right next door he was connected to the temporary labor place. If you did first night free, otherwise it's $7 a night. I mean, for bunk bed and a bath and all the shit, all the amenities and stuff. He wasn't making he may have had a piece of the labor company. Oh, wait a second, there was. Next door. And pretty much, if you just going to go out and drink and drug and fuck around and shit like that, you come in the second night and you're not willing, you don't have the $7. Or if you actually turn down a job, they kind of hint that not to come back. If they hand you a job and you're able-bodied, they pretty much hint them brothers, black brothers that was running the day labor place, temporary place. A lot of people got hired on from them temp jobs, long-term jobs, the good ones. Not all homeless people are bad. And Reverend Ernest was doing it. I love the guy. And, you know, I used to stay there just because, I can't stay in hotels, and you could pretty much be guaranteed because he had the same deal as no fragrances. I have a problem with a lot of the fragrances and other chemicals used at hotels and shit. Sometimes you can't tell until you've been in the room a while that I'm going to have a reaction to it, a respiratory reaction. And the disabled, Ernest would take care of them indefinitely, and then get some social work in there to get them housed, give them enough time to get them housed and get them on SSI, SSDI. And Ernest, you're one of the best people I've ever known. Ernest only smoked pot. He wasn't a drinker. He was like me. He actually used to hire Austin. It was actually right across from the Central Austin Police Headquarters, right across, what is that, Waller Creek, right on the other side. And I used to actually stand right out in front of the PD when they'd come out at like 6 or 7 a.m. the day shift and smoking my homegrown, because everybody used to know me in Austin. They used to let me smoke pot everywhere. I was on TV all the time. But I'm trying to tell you that there is an alternative that's a final solution and takes this political pawn, like up in Portland, Maine. They'll let them, camp on Marginal Way, and then a month later they begin telling them you've got, 2 weeks to move, and they come in, they bulldoze. They just keep moving those pawns around the chessboard. And actually, one guy pointed out in one of the pictures is, look at all those empty cargo containers there. It's not really a cargo container port, but they've plenty there. And you can house a lot of people in a 10 by 40 cargo container. Or is it 8 by 40? Anyway,